Oh, Killer Squad Manager. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you.
The luckiest FPL manager on earth. Very lucky. Very, very lucky. Oh, your little trick that you did there with Trent. So I wouldn't even call that skill. That's pure luck. Let's see you do that again. Let's see you do that again. Try your luck. Come here. Try your luck here.
I am the
Listen
special.
here. Right. Whatever. Right, let's get down to it. Tell me, what are your transfer plans for this upcoming game?
Well, I need a bit more information on Haaland, and hopefully we get a press conference from Pep, figure out how far along he is. We've seen and heard about the training photos, but we need a bit more. And from there, I do have two free transfers, and if I have to bring Haaland in, I will. Personally, I don't actually think he'll perform against Sheffield, and maybe even play 90 minutes. I think Sheffield would be a tough game. Wilder and the boys have really mustered up a good defense ever since he came in. I don't think it's going to be really a captaincy option as much as everyone's going for it. So maybe the special one might do something different. But if Haaland is not an option, then I'll just make one free transfer. Maybe bring in Alvarez and roll the other transfer. Yeah.
All right. In terms of the supposedly upcoming double game week, what are your plans leading up to that double game week?
It's a very tough one for me, honestly. Struggling to find competent Man City assets who are going to return, not just on that game week, but over the time span. I do want to bring them in slowly. In all honesty, I really like Doku. I hope he'll be back by then. I understand Foden, is a favorite. Alvarez, I think, is a season keeper, even with KDB coming back. It's just my opinion. Haaland is Haaland. And then the defense, as it's not really one to trust. But I think the obvious and safe one to go for really is Kyle Walker in terms of playing time, and Akanji to save as a budget enabler. In terms of the other teams, there isn't really any assets from Brentford that I would like to bring in. I would bring in Solanke if Luton and Bournemouth do play in that time. Potentially have four players having a double game week, and make sure that those guys make it into my squad.
Okay. Talk us through your captaincy option there. See, you've gone with Watkins. Tell us why.
Yeah. The captaincies have been blanking in the past few weeks, and as a special one, I've had to foresee and look deep into which players could possibly do better than a blanking game week captain. And I think Salah will score against Newcastle. Definitely, it's at home. He hasn't scored in the previous games. I think Watkins is blanked 2 games now, so I think he's due a return. So obviously, I think he's more of a favorite, as I mentioned. Even if Haaland does come, he might not play as long, or even really Hall, for that matter of fact, because Sheffield's defense is going to be very tight. They've proven that they can hold City back in the beginning of the season, so I don't doubt they can do that again. And looking at the rest of the players, I quite honestly am not sure if I trust anyone else. Saka against Fulham, yes. Fulham, Not saying their defense is good at all, but their keeper's got something to prove against Arsenal. Luton at Luton it's almost like going to Anfield lately in the sense of they do very well in defending. And Douglas Luiz against Bournemouth, I think I'll put my money on Watkins. He's a bit too deep for my liking. And Richarlison is here and there, but not always there. So, Trent was honestly just a risk this past few game weeks, this past game week. And I don't see anybody else truly that I can put the armband on.
Speaking of the armband, I see that your vice captaincy is on Palmer. Let's say if you were to choose somebody else besides Watkins as your captain, who would it be and why?
As a safer option, it would be Salah. Because he's at Anfield, I believe he will have some return. And because he blanked, he will have some return. Salah will have an assist or will score this game, 100%. I, having the armband on Watkins, hope that Burnley will play open as they do with Company, and not having and Aston Villa being able to play through defenses and very good on the counter attack. Ball is always going to end in the middle. So they're bad at set pieces. Watkins is good in the air. I see a couple falling to Watkins' feet. So I would pick Salah. Only because I know he will return because he hasn't in the past few game weeks. It's Salah at home. He will. I just hope that Watkins will return more.
All right. Now, the previous game week, you took a huge risk on Trent being your captain, and he paid off. So now, on that point, for this upcoming game week, who would be your risk captain? The one that you would take a risk on? Since Salah is your safe option.
Well, honestly, it would be Watkins. Watkins has blanked against Luton. He's blanked against, I forgot who the other guys are, Sheffield. So he's blanked against the small teams, Burnley's the last one. So he has a history, but as I mentioned, Burnley's different, play very differently to Luton and Sheffield, and differently in a way that actually could complement the way Aston Villa plays. So it's a risk which could pay off very well. I just have to hope, honestly, that Burnley don't decide to play very defensively that day because they know very well of Aston Villa's home record.
But yes, I get that. But with Watkins, he's more of a popular pick, So I'd like more of a differential pick. So what about, players like, for instance, the Spurs players like Richarlison or Pedro? Who would you choose between the two?
Firstly,
would you choose them?
Firstly, with Spurs, I would start off with Son. If you have the asset, I would have it Son. But if you are asking between Richarlison and Pedro as a risk, I would go Richarlison because with Romero and Van der Ven not around, the defense is very prone. With center, considering Basuma is also not there, so their spine is still not necessarily intact, only having Abesa there. But Richarlison is always involved in the attack, and I mean on the end of play. Son necessarily being on left winger, he's always making the run to be the assist pass Richarlison is always making the run to be the finisher. So he has more of a potent threat than anybody else. But I think we've said this before. He is very much a big risk, and I wouldn't take that much of a risk this week, mainly because, as I mentioned, Salah will return. I believe Watkins will return. I just have to hope he returns more than him. With the previous game week, in a way, I knew that Salah could blank. Highly knew that Salah could blank, as well as any other second captain options. But something told me that Liverpool will definitely. So, in taking risks, my advice is be certain in some sense of way that the majority captain will blank and the risk captain will have some sense of a thing. So for this game week, majority captain is actually going to be Haaland. And the risk captain is actually Salah. So I would actually, if you wanted a real differential and you have it, go for Salah. But I'm a bit on the extreme end.
All right. I'm going to go to defense right now, and in particularly Arsenal defense. Right. So you've got Saliba, who's I think might be the most expensive defender in the team at the moment, if I'm not mistaken. But my question is, do you think that it is time to get rid of Arsenal defenders in this point in time? Now, before you answer that question, just bear in mind this. In the last 10 games, Arsenal have only kept 2 clean sheets. And looking at between Saliba and Gabriel, they've only scored 2 goals, 1 each. So do you think it is time to get rid of Arsenal defenders?
Absolutely not. In fact, I myself was thinking of bringing in another Arsenal defender, Zinchenko. They're playing Fulham. Fulham had no bites in this previous game. In fact, in the previous 2, because they don't really have a good out-and-out striker, as well as Willian being injured as well. So necessarily that build-up is not really working for them. And playing against Arsenal, I believe Arsenal is going to have a clean sheet. So honestly, if I could, I would honestly take a -4 to even bring in Zinchenko. That's how much I believe Arsenal will get a clean sheet this game week. I think just with my answer being absolutely not, you need to look at the following fixtures. I don't think I have it here, but that's going to be West Ham now this past game week. It's Fulham, and then you're looking at Crystal Palace, you're looking at Nottingham Forest, and then fine, they play Liverpool at home, but then they got West Ham again, and they get Burnley again. So in the long term, which is what we need to be focusing on as managers, looking forward long term, they've got 3 good fixtures coming up. 1 bad, and then followed by another 2 good fixtures, and then 1 bad and followed by another roll. So I think long term, they're definitely keepers, investors. They are the best defense. I think it's about picking the right ones. Looking at Saliba and Gabriel, everybody, I understand picking them, Gabriel as a budget enabler. But I think if you're looking into the Arsenal defense, it should only be Saliba and Zinchenko. Zinchenko and Saliba have the bonus points. So whenever that clean sheet comes through, that's where the bonus points are coming. Zinchenko having a very good hand. Yes, fine. He's prone to rotation. But where Arteta really needs control and doesn't need a strong left back. So, for example, the Fulham game, I strongly believe he won't need a strong left back. He might not play Zinchenko, which is the reason why I'm not thinking about it, only because of fixture congestion. He might play PVO, but on a regular week in, week out type of situation, Zinchenko will play that game and run that game. Maybe exit it's 17 minutes. So, yeah.
All right. Just a few more questions. Hope you don't mind. Picking the brain of the special one. I thought you might enjoy that. In terms of, let's talk goalies, right? Now, this season is, it's one of those weird seasons where there hasn't been a standout candidate for goalies. And this is around about the time where most managers start using their wildcards. And obviously with the wildcard, you get literally free reign, basically a free hit time. So which basically means you can make as many transfers as you want, which means also, changing your goalies. So who do you think would be the best pair of goalies to have right now? Looking forward and going forward.
So for those of you who don't know, I recently wildcarded, and in my homework there, I found that it was Martinez for me and Dubravka. Stating my reason and my rationale, honestly, the rotation between the two teams and who they play works absolutely well. They're Burnley this week. Dubravka has Liverpool. The following week, Dubravka is still playing a tough fixture, and Martinez has a better fixture. Then you also need to take into consideration as well bonus points, because that's the edge you get over your other managers. Martinez follows after, I believe, Pau Torres in defense, and as well as Douglas Luiz follows there as well. So looking at the best combination, because that's what you want to do, considering that Dubravka might not be the option when January comes, but I think looking at his performances lately, I think Newcastle are going to stick with him until the end, and I'm very happy about that. When the Newcastle's fixture go well, which is actually straight after playing Aston Villa, Newcastle have a very good run of fixtures. If I may, just looking at it, they play Luton. Yes, they play Nottingham Forest, but at that time you don't know what form they'll be in. They play Bournemouth, 3 good games, and then yes, fine, they play Arsenal, but then they play Wolves, and then Chelsea's Chelsea, so they won't struggle. They play Crystal Palace, and they play West Ham at home. They play Everton at home. They play Fulham. So out of 10 games, they've only got 2 tough games. 1 tough game, 2 tough games. I think that's a row in which the defense of Newcastle is going to be very, very much wanted and hot in the market. So looking at it long term and considering I'm not one to make keeper transfers. It's other keeper must play, other keeper must play, other keeper must play, other keeper must play. They have the best rotation from my research.
All right. Final question. If there is one player that you could have right now, who would it be?
Besides Haaland.
Well, besides Haaland.
I do want to bring in Bowen. I'm struggling to find a way to bring him in, because bringing in Haaland, I'm taking out Salah and looking to bring in another Man City asset. So,
Why
struggling to bring in. Because, Kudus is going to be gone. Antonio is still injured. Danny Ings is not trusted. So Owen is very much a player who can play along that entire front line and will be the talisman. Very much when he is the talisman as it stands, but even when not now. But they have a very good run of fixtures. Playing Brighton now, and then they got two good games after this as well. So Owen is actually a very good hot asset to look at bringing apart from the players that I already have.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.